to see the tomb. Suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, his clothes white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has been raised, as he said. Come see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples he's been raised from the dead, and indeed is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings," and they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." This is the word of God, the word of life. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. Put the lights down, if you would, as we settle in to hear what the angel meant when he said, "This is my message for you." Picture the two Marys rising at dawn that morning, walking through the morning haze to the tomb. And think now of the haze and the fog that we might rise within on any given day in our life. The cloud that hung over the two Marys was one of great sadness. Even more, they were probably in a sense of shock and trauma, having loved Jesus so much, and him having become for them everything, to have experienced his terrible death, and now walking to the grave. Perhaps the cloud that hangs over us is less jolting, or perhaps you have some reference point for that kind of loss, where it's hard to imagine anything beyond that current tough time. Maybe it's less jolting for us, maybe a broken relationship. I heard not long ago of a young couple that had been dating for some time, and then they broke it off, and at least one of them had their heart set on this being the lifelong relationship. Maybe the fog is this changing business climate around all the time. I heard of a friend at All Peoples, a member of our church, works at the same company. This friend from All Peoples, that's our partner church in Milwaukee. I know him well, having been his pastor for most of my 15 years there. Salt of the earth, 28 years in his company. About my age. Gets up, goes to work one day, and unexpectedly finds out that his position's been terminated. Just what you need when you're about my age to start all over. Maybe the jolt that we live with is a diagnosis. Maybe it's the plans that we've had for that time in life when we don't have to work so hard, a retirement plan that no longer adds up. When my wife and I visited our son in China last month, we recognized a global fog. It was just 10 days, but because of the many relationships that he's generated in 15 months living there, and the fact that he's learned to speak Chinese, we weren't really just tourists. We were there to see his life, and we literally met dozens of people that he's known. Most of them, nearly all of them, Chinese people, and felt like we went deep into this culture, and we're so moved by a wonderful people. Just such character and quality of their life. So hardworking and loyal, conscientious. It was so safe, even though there was people everywhere. And you jostle through the crowds, but as soon as you meet someone and you're introduced, whoever they are, you become a guest to them. It's quite striking that they go out of their way to be kind and giving and hospitable and make you feel special. We were so touched by the people. Still, wherever we went, we were able to travel inland where he's been working about 600 miles. You can't escape the fact that there is hanging over your heads a kind of a shroud, a cloud. This is a rather nice day in Shanghai, though you can see some of that. It oftentimes, as we know from the news, is closer to this experience in city after city, as far inland as we went. A very heavy sense of living in this haze of smog. It's our tendency to find fault with China for this reality, and certainly this huge need for clean energy. But it dawned on us during one of our visits with a family that we're in this together. We visited the father of one of my son's friends, and they set it up because they thought we'd like to see the rural countryside, like to get out into the smaller towns. Well, that was still thousands of people. But we were clearly out of the big cities, and we went to this friend's home to meet his father. His father retired, and in conversation that was translated, we asked, what did you do during your working life? What was your working life? And this older, kindly gentleman probably knew 2 phrases or words in English, but he smiled broadly and he said, "Wet ones." He had spent much of his working life in a factory making wet ones, and it made sense. I mean, they got to be made somewhere, and there's factories all over. And as my wife and I thought about that moment, we remembered what it was like when we were over here. We'd read a guidebook that said you should bring some little gifts with you because you'll meet people and they'll be so touched if you give them the smallest little token and trinket. So we diligently searched for little novelties and knickknacks we could bring. The guidebook said, make sure that they're not made in China. We looked and couldn't find anything. Finally, I got a brainstorm. I know I'll go to American brand Harley Davidson, House of Harley. I will find Milwaukee branded keychains or something. And I'm hunting through the novelties. I turn them over, look at the manufacturer's label, made in China. And then I realized we're in this together. We who have made China the manufacturer of the world. Apologies to the fans of The Hobbit. It's not a laughing matter at all. But we're in this together. We're in this together, and whether the fog that you are living in today and my fog is that kind of experience or something more personal, the haze of our lives from which we emerge at any given time makes us sick. Makes us sick physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. We navigate our way in this life, and we get stuck and we get sick, mired down, not sure about what the next step is. That's why it's so important what the angel said. This is my message for you. The angel who caused an earthquake that day. And for you and I, God desires awakening. This is my message for you. He has risen, the angel of the Lord told the two Marys, mired as they were in the haze of their lives, but what's more, not just he has risen, the message I have for you, the angel said, is he is going ahead of you. And this is the message that God has for you and I as we think about the haze that can be our lives and is our lives. He's going ahead of you. If you are caught in the trauma and the shock of loss, a father who survived his teenage son said that the future seems gone. But this is my message for you. Caught in the trauma of death, he is going ahead of you. For those of us that are navigating this changing world, whether it's a changing business climate and reorganizing our lives for work, whether it's the changes that are happening to the church, we've been analyzing and studying and thinking together about this study of the next generation, today's 19 to 30-year-olds who have been described in a book that has an ominous title that simply says, "You lost me." You lost me, because less than 5% of 19 to 30-year-olds are actively immersed in a faith community, and unlike the generations before, they're not coming back. And the change is where we wonder what's going to become of us. There might be times in our own lives or loved ones, we talk to them about what's happening all around us, and somebody says, "I just don't know what the future is going to bring." But the message, the angel said, is he is going ahead of you with a vision for the future, more wondrous than you can imagine. Step out with those ladies, the two women traumatized. It's sometimes enough just to put that next foot in front of the other, to step out into the future, knowing that he is going ahead of you. There was something more that the angel told them. Gives us some more important information about what it means that he's out there ahead of us. He's going ahead of you to Galilee, the angel said. What does this mean for us who step out into an unknown future? He's going ahead of you to Galilee, meant for them. He's going to be out there. Out there, where? Not in Jerusalem alone. You're going to find him out there. Not where he was buried. Not where the past gets us stuck. Out there in Galilee, where those people live. Those people. Galilee of the Gentiles. The people outside of us. Outside of my enclave. Outside of my squad of people. Out there, those people. Galilee, the uncivilized people. The half-breeds. The ethnic mixes, the people with hybrid religions and spiritualities. Out there where there is deep wildness. That's where he will be. That's where you will find him. Out there. We don't have to go all the way to China to go out there. We open the doors in this day and age, and it's out there because out there has come here. And we are in this together, and that's where he will be. He is going to be found there in Galilee. The angel said, "This is my message for you who wonder if there's a future, who wonder what's next." There was something more. The two women ran to tell the disciples what the angel instructed them to share. And what happens next? They run into Jesus on the way, and he underscores the message they'd heard from the angels. Go to Galilee. Tell my brothers, sisters. The two Marys received the same message and something more from Jesus himself. Tell my brothers. Go to Galilee. And what does that mean for us? It means that if you have someone who cares for you spiritually in your life, a brother or a sister, stick together. You need each other. You have a brother or a sister, tell my brothers, sisters, to go out there together. And if you have that person in your life, sometime today or this week, if you can give them a touch or a squeeze, thank you for being my spiritual companion, my sister, my brother. Go out there together and that plan that is in your heart together to make a difference in this world. You're going to see Jesus out there. Go with your brothers and your sisters out there to Galilee. When we get caught in the shroud and the cloud of our existence, as happens to all of us, when we get stuck, when we get paralyzed, when we get mired down, when we don't know how to go forward, Jesus is out there pulling us, inviting us, drawing us, calling us out there. With a future and a greater quality of life, a greater equality of life, a better joy, a bigger purpose. His love, His peace is ahead of us. We really believe in this story. We're going to spend the next few weeks seeing what happened when those brothers went to Galilee. It's called the book of Acts, the book of Actions. We believe that we need to get out there as a church. And one way we embody that is to try to say to every able-bodied adult, at some point in the next few years, take a week and be involved in one of our mission trips. We believe in that so firmly because we know what happens in our lives when we're out there together. We know what happens. 8 of us went out there to Oklahoma City in February, part of a group of 30 from a cluster of churches in Waukesha. They had a horrible tornado last May in Oklahoma City, in the suburb of Moore, Oklahoma, where we were. We met a man named Gary there. A group of us were helping to put together a storage shed on his property, and when we went to see where he wanted us to put it up, we got to ride with him and hear his story about that day last May, when he got up in the morning and could have never imagined what was ahead of him. He's a grandfather. He and his wife went to a talent show at their grandchildren's school. As the talent show was unfolding, somebody stepped to the microphone and said, the Johnson family's parents are here to pick up their children. And then a little later, as the show was unfolding, another family came to pick up their children, and yet another family to pick up their children. Finally, the MC of the program said, "You all should probably go because the weather's not looking good." They grabbed up their grandchildren and they went to their home, and they picked up the dogs and cash in the house as these ominous clouds circled overhead. They agreed they would put the nice car in the garage in case there was hail as part of the storm. They drove back hours later, safe and sound. After the storm had struck, they found that car blown 100 yards down the street, destroyed, along with everything they owned and everything their neighborhood owned, gone. Gary said, you have insurance, but you never imagine what it's going to cost to replace everything. And he said, it's been hard. I'm having to go into debt at this time in my life. I don't know how we're going to do it. But he looked me in the eye and he said, the thing is, you people give me hope. You people from day one have been, you people, hundreds of you, he said to me, have been coming through this yard ever since the storm. Who are you people? I thought to myself. And then I realized it was people of goodwill and faith who know that whatever's ahead of us, Jesus will be there ahead of us. He told about the mom pushing a stroller the day after the storm. The rains fell for 3 days. She's pushing a stroller in a rain with her baby covered by the canopy. She's pulling a little wagon of chili, hot chili in the rain. And she came up to his devastated area and she said, would you like some hot chili? He said, it fed my soul. You people, keep coming. And we keep going because we know who's out there ahead of us. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.